Good morning, role players. Can you all hear me out there? Good. Let's get into it. This is In and Out of Character, a podcast about role playing and role players. Hello, everyone, and welcome to In and Out of Character, where I, Mr. Island, talk to other role players about their journey into role playing and just this weird little hobby that we have. I appreciate you all giving the time to listen to us today. I am here with Cayanna.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Cayanna. You and I have been friends for almost 2 years now, I think.
It has.
It's been close to 2 years because I joined the Divine Conclave in 21.
Did we? I remember joining around July 2021 is when I joined the conclave. So I'm coming up on the 2 years for that pretty soon here.
Okay, and I think I joined soon after that. I could look it up on our forums, but who has time for that? I'm going to go ahead and say that we have been the best of friends for a long time.
Yeah, you're right now, actually, thinking about it. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I've been out of the game for a whole year. That's weird.
It's all good. I think taking breaks, listening to what you really helps to keep role
Absolutely.
playing, if that makes sense. Just pacing yourself, noticing when you needs that need to be met first.
Okay, so let me first off just introduce yourself. Talk to me about who you are as a person.
Ooh. I feel
Oh,
like
I
that's such
know
a
it's huh?
loaded question.
I know, isn't it just the worst? Cayanna, you've been role playing and you've been doing MMO role playing for a very long time. Is that your only version of role playing, or do you like other versions of role playing, like tabletops or LARPing or cosplaying?
I do love cosplaying at Ren fairs when I get a chance, especially when the weather's right.
Mhm.
I cosplayed at a few Ren fairs here in Colorado, but I also do D&D. I'm in a game and then I also DM D&D for some friends, but if I think about when I started role playing, does Maple Story and Club Penguin count all the way back? Because I role played
Absolutely.
then.
Absolutely. If I get to role play in Gaia Online, you absolutely get to role play in Club Penguin.
Cool. I guess that's when that started, and that was, gosh, like 15 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't really role play to this extent up until yeah, July-ish of 2020. And the Conclave was kind of my first taste. I had actually ran a pirate guild on another character in the meantime too, and I actually joined another RP guild before the Conclave that was pretty intricate, but I think I was still very new to it, and it was a Khajiit only. So it
Mhm.
just felt a little weird. I felt like I didn't know lore yet to RP with them. But yeah, I feel like I've reached out a lot in that creative venture.
That's awesome. I love role playing. I like specifically role
Mhm.
playing in MMOs more than I do other sort of
Yeah.
venues because I don't know. I just feel like I have a lot more. I think there's a lot more social interaction when it comes to role playing in MMOs because you get to meet a lot more people very quickly. While role playing with tabletops, you only get to meet like you only get to role play with like 4 or 5 people at a time, however big your group is.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. I love the Dungeons and Masters in person just because I do like connecting with people and acting out our characters in person. It is a little
Hmm.
different, and I like to prefer to DM for D&D in person, but when I'm on an MMO, I like Elder Scrolls Online, I like to just be a character, so I feel like I kind of get that itch in that way. And then when you role play in an MMO, the story can go for as long as you want it to, whereas usually your story with the character in D&D is very dependent on like the story of the dungeon master, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Absolutely, yeah. I has Elder Scrolls Online been your only MMO for role playing?
Yes. I tried to get into Final Fantasy, but there's a lot to it, and by the time I was
Oh
getting to
god,
Final
yes.
Fantasy, I realized I had to learn about the game mechanics of Final Fantasy to role play in it. And
Hmm.
some say, well, you don't really need to play the game, but I'm like, well, I don't even know how to teleport to people yet, or what the wards are, what the races are, and I feel like I need at least that bare minimum. And I'm still really involved in the conclave, so that's where most of my energy goes. That and
Right. Oh man, the Conclave is just such a fun guild to roleplay in as well. It's
Mhm.
very simple, straightforward, and they work with you to give you a lot of options for role playing, whether that be PvP role playing or just player
Mhm.
versus PvE role playing, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
okay. Well, let me ask you another let me ask you another question. What type of MMO role playing do you prefer over the others? Like, do you prefer more lore? Do you prefer more lore abiding role playing, or do you like role playing that's just wacky and wild, or what kind of where do you sit on that spectrum?
Uh, is there a way to say I like both of those? I do
Absolutely.
like a structured story. I do like that there is some structure to the world building because I think that helps frame what you can or can't do. I think it's reasonable for your character to have flaws and not be able to do everything all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
I do like pushing the bounds on what is considered lore and creating your own lore with what you have. So I think it takes a bit of both understanding what's already there and building on top of that. And a part of my animation work and homework is actually story building and animated storytelling. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have a good framework for building a story based on a world that's already built and studying those world mechanics to put your own
Mm-hmm.
spin because a lot of storytelling is not necessarily creating a new story every time, but putting a new spin in your own original artistic style and ideas on top of stories and themes already because everything's
Mm-hmm.
been done already. If you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I did try to make my characters as unique as possible, but if I sit there and try to make my characters so unique, I'd never get a chance to actually roleplay because like you
Yeah.
said, everything's been done.
And sometimes that can only come from rolling your character, not just
Mhm.
building.
So, thank you for telling me all about that. I do appreciate it. So before we really get into any topic and stuff like that, I want you to imagine, right? You've how do I put this? You're at the beach, right? You're
Mhm.
enjoying a nice, beautiful sun, few clouds in the sky. I don't know if you actually enjoy these things. I'm just making up some BS.
I
And
definitely
then
do.
just out of the sand, my head just pops up, and I ask you to explain to me what role playing is to you.
Gosh, this is so hard because people do ask me, like my family members.
Does anybody ever pop out of the sand and just ask you bluntly?
Yes, most
Oh,
it's not out of the sand, but I do have a lot of family members that are just interested in the hobbies that I have, and it is hard to explain. The best way I can say it is it's acting.
mm-hmm,
It's acting with a little bit less restraints and more personal involvement. But honestly, that's the best way I can say it is it's acting. You become a story in a character in someone else's world, and you build stories based on who that person is and think in their brain, if that makes
mm-hmm.
sense. So
Yes,
I guess I would just say
absolutely.
acting.
No, I really enjoy that answer because I also have always considered to be like acting. I would love to have an acting career
Mhm.
instead of driving a forklift all day. Womp womp. Uh I love acting out characters. I like being in different roles for characters. And acting role playing has given me a self-confidence through acting out the characters. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's done that for you as well.
Definitely. I think that comes from a lot of role able to explore different personalities and ideas and stories outside of yourself, and also things that inspire you.
Absolutely. I've been saying absolutely a lot lately. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
And really quick, just let me know if all this seems like it's going like really really fast. I came up with like this whole not spreadsheet, but like this outline for the interviews, which is another reason why I wanted to redo yours. Is because I still have your original recording. I just really wanted to come back because like they just haven't been sitting right with me, and I wanted to make sure I did them justice, which is again why I'm here. why I asked you to come back, and I appreciate you coming back, and I'm so sorry.
And no need to apologize. And I was actually really interested in doing this a year later. A lot has changed. I mean, I still love role playing as much as I do, but I feel like I have learned a lot about navigating the role play community and giving yourself grace to create characters and the things that come with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and a lot has changed in the whole year. And a matter of fact, I'm really excited to find out about that. Maybe I'll release the other stuff, the other interview as well, like as like a side thing, as a hey, this was like a year ago type thing. That way you can hear the differences of opinions, if that's okay with
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. Okay, so one thing that I have been wanting to do is this thing that I call the question of the week.
Ooh,
And
fun.
the question of the week is a question that members in our Discord get to answer the questions that the last uh interviewee I'm not dumb, got to ask. And Dartambe asked a question last week. You can find it in our Discord. It is called "What can you tell me about your favorite character?" And you get to answer this first.
Ooh, the favorite character that I role play?
Yeah, well, it could be so when we ask this question in our Discord, which I will leave links below for anybody who wants to join and answer the question as well. In the Discord, people were asking the same question, and we came up with basically it can be your own character that you like to roleplay, or it can be your just favorite character in general. I'm okay with either answer.
Ah, that's a hard one.
I
I
know
don't.
because you just you like your character so much, and you don't want to be biased, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like I always says it depends, but it really does depend for me. I have a few different ones that I go with, and you know me as Cayanna, so I still role play
Mhm.
her, but I recently made her my Legion of the Air, and she is retired from being, and I was her for about a year and a half, and so I switched to Ardelia for, just some new things, and that has been a bit more amazing to me. Not that I didn't love Cayanna, but and I find this is with other role players as well. The
Mhm.
first character you make tends to be a little bit more restrictive in the manner of how you write them.
Mhm.
And you tend to, and while you're that character, you tend to explore the characteristics that you feel like you most can naturally role play, like someone who is charismatic, someone who likes to fight, someone who is maybe timid. So when you first role play a character, you do explore those different avenues. And so after exploring with Kayanna, I wanted a character that was a little bit more free in the way she was, wasn't as restrictive with the way she approached people. She was a bit more confident, and so I'd have to say, I think the best thing about being Ardelia is I really feel like I can just express this character a little bit more and just have more to explore different personality traits. And
Mhm.
sorry if that doesn't make sense, but what I mean by that is Kayanna was someone who was very kind. She was really soft. She was very dedicated to being sober to Mara, and she was, just really specific about the way she spoke. So I have to think about like how she speaks when I type out her emotes. She was specific in who she spoke to. She had very specific friends. And she had a very specific way about being. She didn't like to spar.
Mhm.
So there were like those things and those restrictions that had come from role playing her over time. And so when I switched to Ardelia, I had more of a time to be able to like be a little bit freer with Ardelia. Like kind of never cursed. I wrote that into her story that she would not curse, that she was very like against that. But
Right,
Ardelia
right.
curses all the time, so I was able to like explore that a little bit. And so I guess I just like the freedom to explore more personalities in Ardelia, especially lately.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question or the
Oh,
question of the week?
absolutely, absolutely. You got to tell me about one of your favorite characters, or your favorite characters is absolutely fine. And so now I'm going to, well, I guess I could tell you about one of my favorite characters,
Please
and
do.
and I would also like to quickly just read over maybe some of the answers in our Discord as well, because I don't want to leave anybody out.
Definitely.
Okay, so gosh, one of my favorite characters. One of my favorite characters. Oh god, I've had okay, so one of my favorite characters, as you know, is Calipers.
Definitely.
I love Calipers because she is everything that I wish I could aspire to be. Confident, confident. She knows what she wants to do. She knows how to get it done. She is very friendly with everybody, and people generally look to her in a very warm way. Uh, and that I'm gonna just leave it at that. That is my favorite character. She is an Argonian for anybody listening. She is an Argonian with some long feathers, and I love her to death.
Cool.
She is. I think she actually is currently my favorite character I have.
Lee, I'm
Uh,
so glad you've returned with her.
I am too. I have missed her so much. I have missed all of my characters because I have not gotten to roleplay in the year since you guys last saw me.
Mhm.
I did try here and there, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't commit to anything because I worked night shift for the longest time, and just recently did I go to morning shifts.
Nice.
So now that I am morning shifts, except for the days that I work 12s, I can actually get on and roleplay. If I have enough time.
It's good to see you back. We
Oh
really
god.
missed Calipers. I don't know if you can tell by everyone swarming you a little bit as soon as you were on. I didn't want to crowd you too much either because I know it can be overwhelming, but we are
No,
really happy.
it's perfectly fine. I'm really glad I get to see everybody again. But we can wax nostalgic? Yes, wax nostalgic. Nostalgia? Is it nostalgic or nostalgia? We can do that later. All right. So I'm going to read just a couple of lines from oh man. So there was only really two answers this time around. There was one from Dartambe, and there was one from somebody in our Discord named Wolf. And Wolf wrote a lot. So I'm going to just read this first part, if that is okay with you. And I'm going to absolutely ruin these names because the new episode isn't out yet, but when you listen to the next episode, Dartambe and I just ruin people's names. We cannot pronounce anything. All right. Oh God. It's a lot. All right. Vadira, is that Vadira? I'm gonna send something to you. Tell me if this is right.
Okay.
I'm gonna post this in our Discord. Is that Vadira?
Yeah,
Va
they can correct us if it's not.
Vadira, I'm sorry, Wolf. I am so sorry if I butcher your character's name. Vadira was born in a prison, sold by her mom who hoped she get a better life free of the prison, then taken by the Legion to be a battle slave. So, that's the Imperials who took this. I'm assuming Khajiit. Vadira.
I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
This actually might not even be Elder Scrolls Online. Here, she spent the next 12 years rigorously training, being selected as an infiltrator unit. For years, Vadira's only family were the fellow battle slaves she was trained with. When the Gnolls came, I have no idea what a Gnoll is, her unit was ordered to stay behind and defend the base, so the non-battle slave officer could escape, despite there being plenty of time for them all to escape. Vadira shot her commander twice in the back before ordering her unit to escape. However, the commander wasn't dead, and he pulled out his kill switch, which would activate small explosives implanted in every battle slave's neck. Vadira saw the kill switch come out and made a split-second decision of shooting out her own explosive. She shot her own neck. The
Oh,
rest
wow.
of the unit wasn't so lucky, and Vadira was loaded, nearly dead, into a corpse ship alongside her team a week later when the Legion retook the world. She escaped from here alone. Okay, so this is not Elder Scrolls Online.
I mean, there's a lot of different avenues to roll.
There absolutely is. There's so many different ways, so many different MMOs you can roleplay. Not to mention just settings in general. If you could think of a setting, there's probably a tabletop for it or an MMO for it, or
Oh,
like a Discord, or a forum, or Ventrilo if that's still a thing. Is Ventrilo still a thing?
I don't even know what that is. So
Oh my god, do you know what Ventrilo? Okay, so Ventrilo used to be this. Oh my god, it's still alive. It's still alive. Anyways, so Ventrilo was Discord before Discord was Discord. If that makes any sense. But you had to pay for it. You had to pay for
of
it. Yeah. So when Discord
course.
came out, everybody flocked to Discord because it was
Mm,
just so much easier.
makes sense.
It does make. Oh my god. And I'm gonna read Dartambe's as well. His is not as long, but I'm going to definitely butcher this name, if that is okay with you.
I mean, I don't know what I would do if you did.
Blah, blah, blah. How do you say this name?
Khalik Shinjari would be my best guess, but
Kalik Shinjari? Shindari.
Khalik Shinjari is how I would say it, but I could also, I don't know, that's phonetically how I'm thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Dart can correct us if he needs to.
He absolutely can. So I'm going to go ahead and just say this one, and then we'll move on to our little main topic. Kalik Shindari, aka Darth Hask. I don't know if I'm saying that one right either. Sith pureblood raised in slavery after his father lost at Kagath. Slavery seems to be a common denominator here.
Trauma is a common denominator in character creation.
Hagath, Sith pureblood raised in slavery after his father lost at Kagath, Sith duel of conquest, and lost Keelik's mother along with his power base. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher all of this. When Kalik, with a lowercase k, was in his mid to late teens, he had to watch his mother whipped to death. That is horrifying. The fury and anguish manifested his latent force powers in a blast of lightning and violence. He was pulled from the crater and taken on as an apprentice to the ambitious lord. In time, Kalik would grow. Kalik with a capital K this time would grow in power and overthrow his mistress with the help of a Mandalorian who would later become his wife and mother to his children. It was through these bonds that he explored the deeper reaches of the Force, choosing his own passions to fuel his ever-growing power instead of the short-lived bursts offered by Rage 8 alone. How do you come up with your character's background normally?
I mostly think characters first that have inspired me or interested me. Ones that I really feel a story that whether I'm connected to it or whether I feel really interested by it, I usually start with a base character that I am already inspired by. And it takes me a few weeks to like write who this is, and then I feel lucky to have a degree in psych and was becoming a therapist for a while, so I feel like I have a good basis for um, emotions that connect and personalities that make sense when put together. So I usually I think about a character that I already like, that's already created,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of add, emotions, and then of course I add the story and then conflict, because conflict is what drives a character, and the story. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are the kind of like the step by step I usually go with the character I like, and then the personalities that connect, and then the conflict that changes who they are and helps them grow.
That's fair. So you're no stranger to adding in conflict in their backstories. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even if you don't add any conflict, that will, in a way, be a source of conflict for a character later, too.
Mm-hmm.
A story I wrote for later on, she's had kind of a softer bringing, so some of the conflict that has come up for her has been sort of complicated because she's never had to deal with anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we should just add trauma for the sake of trauma. Think about the kind of personalities you give your character and what drove that personality and the experiences that shaped it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then don't be afraid to change things and retcon as you go.
I agree. I agree. All right. Next thing. So, do you want to? This is the part after the question of the week. I want to have us talk about any topic that the guest might have. So, is there a specific topic that you would want to bring to the table right now, or do you just want to have a conversation about role playing?
I don't have anything specific I want to bring to the table. Do you? I'm open to really anything.
No, well, I just like role playing. I love role playing. I could talk about role playing
Me
for
too.
hours if you let me. And that's the reason why I have a solid hour time limit on these things. Because if you let me, God forbid, I won't stop.
Me too.
So what about okay, so what about the diversity in role playing? I have becoming much more aware of all the different types of people who like to role play. You and I are almost complete opposites, I think.
Yeah.
I maybe are we the same? Hold on. I'm starting to think about it, and I'm pretty sure you're just me.
I think it depends on what you're comparing and
I, I, I,
what would
I
be similar.
Well, we're both not okay, so if I compliment you, I'm complimenting myself in this instance, but I'm not trying to do it in a very boastful way. We are both very kind people, very heartwarming people. Hold on. Yes, son. Okay, well, sorry, my son's joining me.
Yes, the
He is
more the
super
merrier.
he is super sleepy. You want to say hi? Okay, well, I'm going to continue. Okay, so we are both similar in the same way that we are both very heartwarming, both very loving people, loving individuals, but we play widely widely different characters. Like I think Cayanna and Calipers are very different characters. Does
Hmm.
would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is like while you and I can be the same, we bring a lot of different diversity to the table when it comes to our character.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm curious, how do you think we do that? Do you think it's just our do you think it's our life experiences that make us make these different types of characters? Is it our fondness? Is it just like my love for Argonians is the reason why I made an Argonian in the first place? And so on.
I well, I like to think that a lot of writing is writing, and writing is an art form,
Mm,
and it is something you practice over time, and you also practice ways to stay creative. Creativity when creating, writing a character or anything, you practice doing that over time. Practice going to different places or researching different things that inspire you. I don't think it's something that always comes naturally right away. So I think it's really just the fact that we've practiced. We've role played different characters, we've role played in different settings, we've taken the time to research things with our characters, we've taken the time to role play our characters in different situations to explore those perspectives that you gain when you put your character in conflict. And so I think it's honestly just practice. Like any other creative skill or adventure, you keep doing it over and over and you get better and more interesting, and you create really unique, colorful characters.
so what you're saying is it is in fact not my love for Argonians that drove me to make an Argonian.
I think it is your love for Argonians mixed with the fact that you also love that kind of character creation. I mean, you've taken the time to role play as an Argonian, to kind of perfect role playing a character like that. You've
Hmm.
taken the time to do it, essentially.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you've like researched things about Argonians. You've had Callie in different stories and avenues to kind of see what
Hmm.
her reactions would be in either like a serious conflict or just with friends. You've taken the
Hmm.
time to explore those avenues, and loved it. So of course, I know you love Argonians, but I also want to give credit to the fact that like invested the time and energy to create those characters. That it wasn't just
That
like one day you had them built. It was no, you took the time to invest and write and role play with other people and create deep and meaningful relationships with other characters that help build Callie as well.
absolutely. I think I've said this in a former podcast, but Callie is very old. Character wise, how long do you think the normal character lasts on average?
How long someone role plays as a character?
Yeah.
It's God, that's a hard one too. I'd say if you really are super invested in your character, I give it between 1 and 2 years. I've struggled with this, but it's just because a lot of character creation depends on that conflict and story, and I have just reached some natural conclusions with characters that I felt like would be a good conclusion to end their story. And one thing that's really hard that I think to accept, especially with role playing, is the fact that it is still just a character in a story. It is not a fully fleshed person or anything. At some point, this story is going to end and change and grow.
Hmm.
Um, so I give it about maybe like 1 2 years if you're like actively really pushing. Some people go far longer than that, 4 5 6, a decade even. Some people can only go a few months, but that's usually the average I see for like really intensive role play is like between 1 and 2 years.
Hmm.
And then the people who even role play after that, the story just becomes a little bit less interactive and intensive, and a lot of times it's just to keep up with events or something like that.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Oh, well, the reason why I brought that up is because I was gonna say that Kelly is a very old character that I made back when Elder Scrolls first came out, which was over 10 years ago at this
Yeah.
moment. And I have been role playing her not solidly, but I have been role playing her on and off since then. She's so I've been able to take her and kind of refine her to the way that I want to make her,
Yeah.
or a character that I really appreciate. We were talking about this earlier. One of my favorite character concepts, or we were talking about like our favorite characters earlier. A character that I used to base her off of is a character from a Metal Gear Solid series called the Boss. And when I realized that I was putting too much of the boss into my character, and like I took out those parts of her, she became just so much more enjoyable to play.
And you're allowed to change those things. I mean, like, that's also something that really matters when it comes to role playing is what do you actually enjoy being? Like, is what character can you step into where it doesn't feel like it's something you have to do or it feels like it's not right? And some people really struggle with that. Also, give yourself the patience to build a character because sometimes it just takes a while to get in the hang of it, but also make sure you do things that feel good. Ultimately, that's the biggest goal is do you enjoy being this character? And if you don't, then take a step back and change and adjust that you need to.
Absolutely. No, I get that 100%. Why am I saying absolutely a lot today? I don't
I
ever
say
do this.
absolutely a lot too.
Well, normally I say cool, 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 like too much, and it drives my friends insane. So I do not know why I'm doing this absolutely thing now. Anyways, I 100% agree that if you do not like your character, if your character is just not doing it for you, take a step back because while yes, we do have to keep ourselves outside of our characters, if we're not having fun, there's no point in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's your biggest thing. Have a good time, feel good with character creation. And I've seen some people really like, I think they just might not genuinely feel like they like role playing, or they really struggle to find the good parts about role playing. And notice that in yourself. Notice if you feel like something's not right. Like maybe this isn't the right group, maybe this isn't the right character. Like listen to what you, because if you nurture that hobby and becoming characters that you enjoy, like take the time to explore that and be open, be mentally flexible to change if something isn't working.
It's just really good to talk to you again.
You to
I
I
have
miss you.
I've missed you guys so much. I've missed you and Bernard and everybody in the guild. It's so good to be back for the most part. I don't know if I'll be as active as I once was, but at least I'll still be around now.
I mean, take your time too.
Don't expect me to take on any leadership roles right now. I just simply can't. Ja- Jaden's about to turn 4, and this has heavily impacted my ability to roleplay because when I come home from work, I have to make sure he's okay. And if he's not okay, then I have to stay with him and make sure that he is okay. Which is
Yep.
just a part of being a parent. You lose out on the things that you love to help other things that you love. And as much as I love role playing, I also love my son very much.
Of
And
course.
I've yes, and I don't get to stay up late like I used to. Do you remember when we'd used to just hang out until like,
I
oh god,
know.
2 o'clock in the morning my time?
Yeah. Yeah, we had some really lovely dates. That's okay
Hmm.
though. The good RP comes like that, like you said, when your IRL life is good.
Oh god,
You
yes.
That's why I always like to think about like just being mindful about when you role play and what works for you. And I know so many people love role play to escape. I mean, I think in a way we all do. We want to kind of step out of what where we are and step into a different thing, but like, just be mindful about the, what you use role play for as well because it won't stay with you if that's the only reason you're role playing to escape. If you're only role playing to escape, I promise you won't be role playing for very long. Like role
Mm,
play does not take you away from real problems in your life. It may for a little bit because you're just thinking about the different things, but you should always make sure that things in your life are centered and that will just make your play so much better. You feel focused, you feel like you can explore things that are creative and fun and not just like I just have to get out of my head.
yeah, absolutely. God, why am I doing why am I saying that so much today? God, yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Cool, 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 cool. That's what I'm gonna do in order to get that out of my mouth. I'm going to make a challenge to myself to not say absolutely for the rest of this interview because my goodness, I can't stop. Ugh. So, moving away from those topics, and we can come back to those in a minute. We are getting close to the hour. So, at this point, one of the things I want to do is ask my guests, do you have any questions for me about role playing? or like something that you could think to ask me that you think people should know about, or just what you want to know my opinion about, or that
I
sort of
am
thing?
just genuinely curious about what you like motivated you to kind of like start a podcast about all this.
I love role playing. That is it. I love role playing, but it is such a weird hobby. So here you and I
Mhm.
are, two perfectly functioning human beings. We have our own lives. We have like I have my child and my business, and like I'm trying to go to school. I actually am trying to go to a school for acting. But it takes a lot of money to save up for it. Um and here you are, you have your job, you have your hobbies and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, a lot of the times we choose to come home, sit down, and type to other people, like write a story with other people. And while that is not the most absurd thing, it is a pretty odd hobby to have. While most people talk about going home and getting wasted and watching the game, or staying up late and playing Gears of God of War 10 or whatever the hell is happening now. While they're talking about playing those games, we decide to act out as other characters, and I think that hobby is just so odd that I couldn't find a podcast or anything like this that really just goes out and talks to people. I found a podcast that talks from in character to in character, like talks like they were doing in character talks
Ooh.
on the podcast, which I thought was pretty cool. And I hope Fuse, who was the person's name, comes back and does it again. And I even found one that was just World of Warcraft role playing by a guy named Kitch, and I thought he was really cool. But there was nobody who would just talk to role players from the whole the all encompassing role play sphere, which I think is personally not only acting like we talked about earlier, MMO role
Mhm.
playing, tabletop role playing, LARPing, cosplaying, like forum role playing, that sort of stuff.
Mm.
And I said enough is enough, and I would like to go out and talk to people. That's really it. I have a big mouth and I like to talk to people. And one of the things I would like to talk to about passionately is role playing. Like how,
Awesome.
like I don't see any downside to it. How if you are new to role playing, I would love to talk to you about your journey. If you're a veteran through role playing, or to talk to you about like what it's going to take to get into role playing and finding your group. And that's the reason why I made the podcast.
Nice. That is awesome because I also feel like I really love role playing and I don't necessarily have a whole bunch of people to.
Right?
A
Like
funny thing is, I'm actually coordinating an in-person gathering. I have been super vocal about it because I think it's something not a lot of people are necessarily interested in, but some people are.
Mhm.
So we're planning to like all meet up at the Renaissance Fair in the middle of the summer. So
We're at
um
we're at
Colorado.
Oh God, I died. Maybe I could make that. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know. I am still a father, and I don't get to just drop my stuff and go. But I think maybe I
Mhm.
could make it.
Uh,
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, please let me know. Dart and Shelandy are planning to go too, so
Wow, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be
yeah.
great. Anyways, back to this. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So we're getting close to an hour, which is my stopping point,
No
unfortunately. Uh,
worries.
so first off, go ahead and plug yourself. Plug any social media that you want. Plug nothing. Just say hi. I'm Canna, and this was a podcast. If you want to.
I'm definitely gonna plug something. Please
Yes.
reach out for commissions. One of my favorite things about role playing is finding other people in the role play community who want their characters drawn. So
Mhm.
if you just need like a profile picture, even like family portraits, gifts, I really love doing those. And please follow on Twitch. I do art streams and I'm planning to do some game streams, but I really like doing art streams because I can live stream and talk about like a lot of that process. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, just reach out for commissions, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and thank you for listening.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to I know I already have your commission page because I looked at your commission page and I was like, "Oh, I would love to commission art from Cayanna." But if you don't mind, please send me all of your links and I will make sure that those are in the descriptions, show notes. the thing below the thing that you're listening to, whether it
Oh
be on
yeah.
YouTube or on Spotify or something like that. So that way I can make sure to get it to them.
Okay, yeah. I think I had just have like a link tree that I send to people that has like a whole bunch of stuff on it. So
Linktree it
that
is. Everybody
I
look down below and you'll look in the link tree and there you go.
okay, sorry. To be sure, is it this in chat?
No,
Wait.
send it to me on Discord.
Oh, okay, okay, I'll send it to you. It's also in my bio on my Discord too. I have it linked there.
Oh, I'll just get it from there.
I have a lot of stuff connected.
Absolutely. Oh God, I've already failed myself.
It's okay. I'll send it to you anyway.
All right. So the final thing is you get to ask the new question of the week, and everybody in our Discord and people who are joining our Discord or want to answer this question can join our Discord and get to answer it. And the next person who comes onto the show has to answer those questions along with me. You can make it as broad or as narrow as you want.
I get to ask questions or like,
You get to ask the new question of the week.
oh gosh. I know this is an interesting one, but I think it's one that I feel like is so fun to think about when creating a character is what is your character's hairstyle? I think a hairstyle or your outfit in general. An outfit and your hair says a lot about who your character is. So what is like, if there's any screenshots of your outfit or like a hairstyle or just like a cool cosmetic thing that your character has and why, please, I'd love to know. So I guess what cool cosmetics or outfits do you have for your character? That would be my question.
Oh, God, I have so many for that, but we'll have to wait for that until next week.
No
All right.
worries.
All right. And with that said, we are coming up to literally 51 minutes now. So if you have a last few minute things that you want to say, feel free to say it.
I did want to ask you, Callie, too. You said you've been role-playing calipers for, a decade or so.
Mhm.
Do you have any recommendations for people who are wanting to role-play a character that long?
In what regards? In terms of guilds, in terms of character
I
interaction?
Do you, I guess how can you prevent burnout on writing for one character for so long? I mean, even in like television shows and movies, a lot of writers get tired of writing a character for that long. I always think
Hmm.
of like Michael Scott from The Office, and a lot of people always wondered like, why did he stop being in The Office? And he simply just got tired. He was like, I was burned out of being Michael Scott and I wanted to be someone else. So, what is your recommendation for preventing burnout on a character long term?
Oh God. So my recommendation is okay. So there's actually a few different recommendations here. First off, I think burnout is impossible. Escape. I think that no matter what, you're going to have a character, and that character is going to eventually become so tiresome that you're not going to want to get to roleplay them anymore. That is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. Do not ghost everybody. Tell people, hey, I'm just getting really tired of my character, and I want to take a step back. So I'm not going to be on this character for a while, and kind of like close up any relationships or just ongoing stories that you might have, because it really sucks coming from a person who has ghosted other people, roleplay wise,
Mm.
and coming from someone who has been there on the receiving end of it as well. It's not fun to have a character and then suddenly, like your character is integral, is very important to someone else's character, and then you just leave without telling them. Like
Yeah.
it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very jarring. It's a very jarring experience. So, if you are tired of your character, take a step back, tell everybody, close up any storylines that you might have going on to help them kind of move on. And but before you do all that, make sure that you don't want to just go off and do another character entirely, or if you're like planning on retiring your character, because if you plan on retiring your character, you might want to definitely just end things. Now, if that's not the case, if you're not burnt out of your character, then another thing that I like to implore when I am using calipers is to make other people feel like they have the lead. I give them a reason to respond. I give them a reason using calipers to do this, that, or something else that helps them get out there. And using the other character's reaction is how I keep things fresh and unique. Not everything that works on this one person that works on this one character is going to work on another character. So you might get two different reactions out of them, or two different reactions out of two different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ah, see, there you go. It's contagious. And the last thing that I would do to kind of prevent burnout is, well, generally speaking, those are the two most often things is taking a step back if you are burnt out on your character, or if you are tired of your character, which is again perfectly fine, or employing a service to other people and using their reactions to give yourself a general boost in what's the word I'm looking for? Story? Does that make sense?
Good old story. Makes perfect sense. And it's lovely to know that you think about so much with your interactions with others because it really does show that you're so dedicated to creating those relationships. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. That was a nice thing to say. You don't have to lie to the viewers for me.
I
All right.
wouldn't lie about that. Are you kidding me? Like, I love the times that we had, and I'm hoping you'll be excited to meet Ardelia because I feel like Ardelia and Calipers would really connect. Ardelia is very high. She's not a lot like Cayanna. She's very high energy. And I actually like having both of them. I don't actually bring out Cayanna very often, hardly at all now. But
Mm-hmm.
Ardelia is there mostly, so I'm excited for you to meet her. And like you said, how are we these people and how are we able to like explore so many different parts? I think one of the best compliments is that when I switched to Ardelia, a lot of people didn't realize that I was Cayanna at first. A lot of people were just RPing like with me as Ardelia and didn't know that I was Cayanna, and they were like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you guys were the same person." That is one of my favorite compliments, to know that you were a different character and nobody could tell that you were the same person behind the screen. And when I did that, I realized I actually like having both a quote unquote soft character and a hard character. So a soft character, I like having Kaina, considering her soft character, soft in personality, soft in the way she approaches things. And I like having Ardelia, who's a little bit more confident. She likes to fight. She likes to curse. She likes to drink. Just like, she's a little bit more open to things, whereas Kaina, she's not as open to things like that. She, like I said, had a kid, has a family life, but she's a little bit more stable in personality and handling things, whereas Ardelia, because of her lifestyle, is not. So I like having characters that have some duality because it, I don't know, keeps it balanced for me to explore different things. Sorry, I just went on a tangent there.
No, tangents are welcome here. Tangents are definitely welcome here. Well, I think personally, and this might just be my own bias, that you are a terrific role player and a great storyteller.
I think
No,
that's what I love most about role playing is story. It's the story. I'm writing a comic about Kaina's daughter, Melina, so I'm
that sounds pretty cool. I love doing that. And we should definitely have a conversation about, unfortunately, I won't have the chance tonight, but we should definitely have a conversation about using external sources to make your role play better. I think that would be a great topic to have. For
hoping.
instance, you writing a comic.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I've written comics
What?
before, but I wanted to write a character about Melina, Kaina's daughter specifically, because I feel like I don't know, I just feel like it would be interesting to kind of write that dynamic. And I have such a good foundation for Kaina and Bernard now
Hmm.
that I feel like it would be really fun to create their story and then a character based off of their story. So I have a really good foundation for like where some character traits would come from, natural conflict, natural, just like family dynamics that people would connect to. Because that's all about what story is like finding things that people can connect to, like they're in.
Hmm. Absolutely. Ah, I did it again. All right, that's enough. We're done. If I say absolutely again, I'm gonna lose my mind. All right, so everybody, thank you guys for listening. This again was Cayanna from the Divine Conclave, an MMO Elder Scrolls Online role player. I appreciate you coming on and talking with me and just rambling about our characters.
I love rambling about characters.
Absolutely. Again, check out all of her stuff below. Definitely commission her. She's a great artist. I'll make sure to post everything down below in the show notes or in the description, wherever you guys are listening to this. And that's it. Thank you guys very much. Kayana?
Thank you, Calipers. It was lovely to be here. And thank you, everybody, for listening to me also ramble about roleplay with someone. I hope you can check out my art. I do discounts and stuff too. And check out stuff at Calipers Guild and stay safe.
And that's it. See you next week.